it was not completely clear. Even after the coroner in the Gabby Petito case held a half-hour news conference to answer questions, that happened yesterday. But today, it is clear, crystal clear. And I am not sure if it really makes it any easier to track down and prove who killed Gabby, but I have a sneaking suspicion it helps. Gabby Petito quite literally died at the hands of another human being. That is what strangulation throttling literally means. Here to help shed some light is Dr. Larry Koblinski, Professor Emeritus of Forensic Science at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. Larry, yesterday, Dr. Brent Blue, the coroner, would only say strangulation. And then in the report, he added the word strangulation throttling. And then in media interviews later, he said strangulation could have involved an implement like a ligature. Manual strangulation is just not mechanical. But then today with Brian Entin, he was crystal clear, saying that definition, throttling, is the key word, meaning she died with someone's hands around her neck. How is that going to be helpful in terms of finding out who those hands belong to?
Well, first of all, Ashleigh, there are three kinds of strangulation. There's hanging, ligature, and manual. And manual strangulation involves the hands and the fingers. All three of these devices will cause asphyxia, meaning that the brain is not going to get oxygen. And the brain cannot survive for more than 5 minutes without oxygen. The damage is irreversible. So this kind of asphyxia, this kind of strangulation kills people. Very common in domestic violence, but we'll get to that in a little bit later. The neck is a very vulnerable structure. And if hands were on the neck, and a lot of this depends on the status of the body, which is another thing we need to talk about. But if the hands were on the neck, then touch DNA, whatever you like, there's going to be a transfer of skin cells from the hands and the fingers onto the victim's neck. The FBI did collect DNA specimens. We really don't know whether those specimens are going to reveal anything. First of all, it may be so decomposed that the DNA is going to be useless. On the other hand, the likelihood is that there will be DNA present, and then we have to see what the source is. It could be Brian Laundrie, or it could be somebody else. We don't know. So we have to wait till the analysis comes back.
Even if they could find DNA of Brian Laundrie, this is his fiance. They live in a van together. Right. That would be something I would think you would find if you are sleeping in such small, close quarters. Let me ask you the other part of that, though, because
Sure.
You and I have done this work for a long time. So I think I know what you're going to say when I ask you about 3 to 4 weeks out in the wilderness. I think that is an extraordinarily complicating factor. But Dr. Blue said something to Brian Entin today that stood out to me. I did not expect him to say it. I did not expect him to have the finding, but he said these words. He said, the manual strangulation could be determined, quote, by the nature of the injuries around her neck. And to me, that said, they could see something, perhaps on tissue. And to me, that's a boon in the forensic industry, isn't it?
Without a doubt, having soft tissue makes a big difference. There's a lot of information there. The neck is a very vulnerable place on the human body. The jugular veins on the outer portion of the neck, the carotids more internally, the strap muscles, 4 pairs of muscles on both sides of the neck. You've got the cartilage on top of the trachea, the thyroid, the cricoid cartilage,
right?
The thyroid cartilage, and the hyoid bone. It is a bone with 3 components. As you get older, they fuse. In early development, they're separate structures, but they fuse and they form a U-shaped bone. The tongue is attached to the hyoid. Here's the key, that in strangulation, you can break the hyoid bone. So even if you have a skeletonized body, if you see a fracture of the hyoid bone, you think straight away of strangulation. But I should tell you, statistically, that only about 1/3 of strangulations end up in a fractured hyoid bone. But that is an indication of strangulation. But there's a lot more. If there is soft tissue, you're going to see hemorrhage. You're going to see all kinds of evidence. The cartilage, the two forms of cartilage, the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage could be damaged. You could have damage to the trachea and also the esophagus. And so there's evidence there in soft tissue that there was a manual strangulation.
Yeah, Larry, let me ask you this. I just can't recall right away what case it was, but I know I have covered a case with you where there were handprints that were in such a pattern that they were actually compared to the accused. And I know it would require a specific amount of soft tissue to determine that kind of a pattern, but it can happen. You can determine size of a hand, the actual positioning of a hand. It may not be the most accurate, comparison, but it's one more data point, isn't it?
It's a data point, but it's a characteristic that is not unique to any individual. So I think you can rule out somebody based upon that, but I don't think it's really solid evidence in a courtroom. I think, as I started pointing out before, if you see fingerprint impressions around the neck, that's the area to take DNA from. Under those impressions, surely there's going to be his DNA. Brian Laundrie's DNA is maybe all over the body. I wouldn't say that that's a significant finding, but finding his DNA under those fingerprint impressions on the neck could be damning, and that would be very important in litigation.
I just remembered the case. It's Amanda Lewis in Florida, and they determined in the courtroom that the fingerprint pattern on her face, on the child's face that she was convicted of murdering, was her fingerprint pattern. I always thought that to be absolutely fascinating, but they did use it in that case, and that's what made me think about Brian. Larry, I always love having you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Will you come back?
Sure.